Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to this Monday Musings, this wonderful Monday video. I look forward to answering a couple of questions that I received of things that you're experiencing. But before we go straight into that, I just want to give a final shout out to the live event I have with Jackie White tomorrow, Starseed Origins. If you've ever wanted to glean a deeper connection with the star systems and which one you may be from or may be receiving wisdom from right now, it's a wonderful workshop, very graceful. And there's a replay if you can't make it live. So do check the link in my bio. And you'll also see some other events that are coming up as well. So 30th of May with Tim Wilde. We also have a live event in Emsworth on the 16th of July. And also on the 28th of June, I'll be working with the beautiful Camilla Kumara, who will be working with me to dive into the Ascension connection from Atlantis. So there's a lot of really cool workshops coming up. Do take a little nosy, have a little nosy in the description box or in my bio, wherever you're watching this from. But for now, let's go straight into some of these questions, because it's really interesting, the expedition, the expediting of energy that we're having from the eclipses that we've just had through this month of May in the run up to the solstice. It's set to be incredibly powerful. Some would say volatile a little bit, and cosmically, yes, if you're watching any of our dear beloved friends who do astrology, you know, they'll be sharing those bits of information with you. But what's really interesting is how we're personally experiencing things, because these conjunctions and our own vibrational planes rising in frequency are really showing the universal laws in activation, in practice, in our bodies, in our beings. This world that we live in, we've always said that it's a world of duality. It is and it isn't, you know? We come here with a veil of amnesia. That veil of amnesia is not something which will always be there. Once we've transcended this particular phase of this earth and this world, it will fall away. But what's really interesting is we forget. The veil of amnesia isn't about our other lifetimes. It's about remembering who we are, that we are love, that we are source, that we all come from the one true heart, and the very nature of who we are is source energy. But we spend all of our lifetime, plural lifetimes, fragmenting ourselves, disembodying, going up to the mind and forgetting who we are, analyzing without bringing it into the heart, you know, without feeling. And all of that really causes a fracture in our inner voices, the inner voice and the inner knowing of our highest self. Some call that the superconscious, the monad. And then the voices of the subconscious or the conscious mind. Now, the conscious mind belongs to the body, right? The conscious mind really does belong to the body. It's something that has grown with the body. It's a life force energy of the physical form. And the subconscious is all these imprints that we have from when we are growing up and when we are forgetting who we are, right? When we grow up and we take someone else's wounded template over our own true one, our true sovereign one, and we forget. And that's not anyone's fault. That's not anyone's fault. That's just the world that we're in. We've helped create that through time. So a lot of us kind of jump to say, my parents had this wound, or, you know, I was raised in this space. And, you know, there's always the challenges that we've all had to face. We all have had challenges, and you cannot compare any of them. Because in fact, we all created them. We helped create them through times gone by, because we've all been a part of the collective before now, right? We've all been a part of the thought process that's created the physicality, the collective energy, because all of the collective outside of ourselves is a collective energy, firstly, inside of ourselves. That's the universal maxim, as within, so without. So we've got to apply that to everything. So people nowadays will say, and they have been for a while, that we're in this world of duality. But really, the dualistic state is the separated state. It's the devolved state. Duality is a devolution. Because the principle isn't a principle of duality, it's a principle of polarity. Duality is a shadow archetype, a wounded archetype. And the more and more that we get to know ourselves, the more and more we rise into our Christed self. We bring the two sides of the duality to a new third energy, which is this Christed light, this anchor of light, this pillar of light, birthing the divine child within us. For that's what we all are. We are all seeded with the seed of Christ. It's just whether we choose to grow that or whether we choose to grow the ego, the conscious mind, and all of its personas. So some of the questions that we received, why are we becoming more erratic? Now, this is a really brilliant question, because the thing is as we traverse blindly through life, which we really are, many of us will say that we're awakened, but really we're still incredibly blind to ourselves. And it takes a lot of courage to stand there or to be there and to hear that and not get triggered. Or if we do get triggered, see it as a triggering because there is an illusion present. Because that's all a trigger is. If we have an immediate response of, I'm awake. No, I'm not asleep. That's an ego defense. There is a triggering there. There is an illusion there because it only exists. That response only exists. It's a biochemical response. It only exists because all of who you are is saying one thing and the rest of you, your body, is saying another. So we become more and more erratic as we're integrating and alchemizing, because the thing is that we can't continue to be diverging in this way. We've had enough separation within ourselves, within our world. We're responsible for the most part of it, right? Nothing really is done to us because we, in a different time and space, have been the ones to create the foundations of it. So if we can accept that as a premise and take accountability for that, we really have a great power to shift it quickly. So why do we become more erratic? Well, if you're sat in a room, let's look at it this way. If you're sat in a room and the radiator's on, the room is warm, but the radiator's on, and the radiator's, maybe it's over there, maybe it's behind certain things and you can't really reach it. If it was just a little bit warm, it wasn't really too uncomfortable, maybe you just open a window, you do something different, right? You just you'd put up with it. It's not worth going to find the radiator, dig out that heater and turn it off or turn it down. No, instead you might open the door or open the window or take a layer of clothes off. You're adapting yourself. You're changing yourself to the circumstances around to match and to pacify the circumstances around. But that isn't honoring our true truth. Our truth is, okay, we're warm, but what's the reason for that? Well, we've turned the radiator on, we've turned the heater on, and then we've put stuff in front of it, we've blocked it. A little bit of uncomfortableness is not enough to make people do things that suits their higher self, that permits their higher self to enter. If we're comfortable enough, if we can kind of get by and just alter something else around, we're not actually going to look at what needs shifting within ourselves. It's something that we've created. We're not going to uncreate it to recreate it because it might take a little bit more effort. Right? We don't feel like we have time. We have the scarcity mindset around time. So this is really interesting. So then what happens is the voice of our higher self is saying, no, do this, do this, do this. And our ego self, which is kind of, once again, the ego self doesn't have time. It's not got time for any of that stuff. It's just, no. It's pushing back. So there is this push and pull within ourselves, this civil war even within ourselves. The higher self is saying, hey, I'm always here to help you. Let me love you. Let me show you. It's really simple. It's really easy. Let's make this really easy. You'll feel so good if you just do this. And the ego body goes, meh. So what happens is we make the situation bigger. We make it bigger. So now let's say the radiator is on full blast. It's really too hot. You can't open the windows and doors enough. You can't take enough layers off. You're going to have to dig out that heater and switch it off. There might be water leaking out of it or oil leaking out of it. There might be stuff going on. This is like a big scenario now. This is getting bigger and bigger, you know? Now we're going to have to do something because something's going on with that heater. It's exploding everywhere. It's wrecking your stuff, right? This is an example of how we make things bigger until we face it, because most of us still haven't imprinted a new imprint of just being proactive in the moment. We're all still reactive. We have to wait until something big happens for us to react and create change, create different circumstances, and hear ourselves clearer. And really, that's the premise of why we're becoming more and more erratic. It's because there are so many things that we are ready to release. We've been asking to release. Every time we ask for more love, more abundance, more accepting, more honor, more joy, more bliss, more respect for this person, respect for that person, self-worth. Every time we ask for more and more and more of those things that we truly are, we're asking for them because we've forgotten that that is who we are anyway. We've created such an environment around ourselves, such a play, an orchestration around ourselves, that we've forgotten that's who we already are. And so we now think, oh, it's this that's in the way, this is in the way, this. So we become more erratic because these are old emotions as well. There's old emotions stored because when we have a belief of our higher self, which is always within us, always right there within us, that's the gut instinct as well. But we choose to ignore it and do something else. Maybe even to a point where we don't realize we're doing something else that doesn't make it easy for us. We store emotion, it gets stuck in our body, in our cells. Old waters that really need to release, old emotions that we haven't processed. Emotions are like the wounded inner child, especially the challenging emotions. They're like the wounded inner child that has a story to tell that hasn't been heard, and it will carry on speaking it, expressing it, creating dynamics and situations in order to allow that emotion to rise up so that it has a possibility to complete. So we become more erratic when we're not listening to ourselves. For one, to our true self. We think listening to ourselves is listening to our brain and our conscious mind. It's not. It's listening to the body, how he or she feels. It's listening to the cells. It's listening to, the aches and the pains and, when you need sleep, when you need to be awake, when you need to move. A lot of us will pacify ourselves by saying, oh, I'm so lethargic and tired, I'm just going to take another nap. But really what the body needs is to move because there's stagnant energy. While we stuff our face with whatever food or drink is making us feel better for that quick hit. The body is electrical before it's biochemical, right? So when we eat foods and we do things to pacify ourselves, and we're essentially telling our body that we don't care enough. Not because of what we're putting in it, but because what that is saying is, I don't want to listen to the sensation I'm feeling. So I'm going to put this inside my body. It could be something nice and healthy, perceived healthy, but in all honesty, it is activating a chemical response, It's a dopamine, an oxytocin, a serotonin, to get that instant. And what that happens is it gives us that quick shift, but then we crash again. We crash again because we're not still listening. We've not fixed the condition. We've not realigned the thoughts within us. We've not changed something within us. We find ourselves becoming more and more erratic when those emotions just need to express and we're not giving them space to do so. So it's kind of like, can you be uncomfortable for a few minutes in order to have real beauty and alignment? Or will you wait till it gets so uncomfortable that it actually causes problems? And then we have to react and fix it, So it's interesting because there was another question here, are our bodies rejecting more situations than usual? Well, in some ways, yes. In some ways, no. It's just it's more noticeable now because collectively we're all asking for more. We're all asking to remember who we are. Everything is available to us. Everything. There is no one in the world really that needs to be unwell or poor or sad or depressed or anything. No one needs to be like that. But it's hard. The human experience is really hard because we have this emotional system that we've been taught to ignore, that's built itself up, right? To store all this old stagnant memory in our cells, clogging up our electrical system, which is just wanting to flow the currents of light through us, through our spine, through our antenna. The body is meant to be this conductor of energy. You're a conductor of energy, you're a channel. Let joy move through you, let love move through you, but we can't just wish for it and ask for it. We have to take away the blocks that's stopping it, you know? So yes, our bodies can be rejecting most situations or seem that way. But the reason it'll seem that way is because it's getting to the point, it's getting to a crux now, a real pivot point in the world where, you know, you've been asking for something for so long and now this is the time to do something about it. And it might seem volatile as you process, but if you honor your emotions, for me personally, I connect a lot with water, right? I have a water moon. The moon will help you identify as well your inner child, right? And how you need to express emotions primarily. Obviously, you want to express in as many ways as is healthily and you can. But there's always kind of like, there's a little kind of like archetype that might help as well. Like I find that with people with strong air in their chart, like strong moon sign in an air, so like, you know, Aquarius or Libra or Gemini moon, you know, they may find that writing, talking helps them alchemize, you know, that does for me as well. But when I'm really going to the depths of my false beliefs and I really let my emotions come out, I'm crying and I'm cocooning myself and I'm crying, you know, and I'm letting it come out and it feels like death. It does. That's what it feels like when we're really alchemizing this stuff. But it feels like that for just a short period of time. And then the liberation, the freedom and the joy that can enter is second to none. We have to do the work and we have to have the courage to know that emotions will not hurt us, to know that they are just a process. They are the highest form of alchemy. One of the highest forms. There's other forms of alchemy, but we have to clear the emotions out first, clear the waters before we can practice the even higher alchemy. If you're a fire moon, you know, Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, you know, you may find that, you know, moving your body, expressing in that way, you know, moving your body, running, dancing, jumping, punching a bag, earth moons, you may find that you really just need to be away and alone, you know, out in nature, just you, nature, connecting, skin to skin, sleeping a little. Maybe you do a lot of that alchemy in sleep. Find what works for you. And each time it might be different depending on the situation, but it seems like we're becoming more and more erratic because we're asking ourselves, and our higher selves are pulling us forward, saying, you've been asking for this, we're going to help you now even more. Your teams of light are drawing you forward into feeling the emotions you need to feel, inviting you, and we will continue to create scenarios that get bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's our shadows. That's how we see the shadows and we work with them. We create the scenarios that are bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until we finally stop and say, I'm going to face it. I'm going to face it. I'm going to feel it. And when I feel it, I get to heal it. And when you get to heal it, the peace, the serenity, the joy, the vibration of grace and compassion and love that you can embody. It's what everyone's been asking for. Allow yourself that, honor yourself. You can't help anyone if we can't help ourselves, right? So Such great questions. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for writing them. And I look forward very much to the next few videos as well. Whew. Ooh. I'll see some of you tomorrow night. And then, oh yeah, there's the Carrie and Trish just launched their Ascension Airwaves radio show. It's a free podcast, free radio show every Sunday between 9 and 12. I am being aired, my interview that I did with them is being aired this Sunday. So the link will be in the bio description box below. Please feel welcome to listen. I love to hear your comments and things like that. So send you all so much love. Sending you all so much love, and thank you for